This show is so magical. I can't believe, once again, the anime raising the bar of what it set out to do. The fact that we got to see what their final product would look like in this episode, and it ended up being more of like a teaser trailer, what they would do if they had a budget. And to just know that this studio, they had to have had a hell of a time making this, because it both feels like someone who had to take corners, they had to cut corners, things like that. They didn't have all the materials and basically funding that they would need to truly create their vision, but they gave it their everything. And whether Kanamori was saying you're gonna work 48 hours in a single day, or you just saw the numerous techniques that animators use to be able to finish products on time, it was so amazing to see how they got to the final product, but then to see the reaction from all these characters, because we've seen it from their perspective, our Centro Trio. Every time something anime happens, it almost feels like the real world becomes an anime, as if they're seeing the things that the imagination is trying to let us experience, but we always hold ourselves down to reality. Watching the student council and all the people in the crowd, just as the thing's playing, they're seeing a shell from a tank. They're feeling the wind, they're feeling the vibrations, it looks like things are coming their way. I love how it's basically representing that it's almost like the first time you see something that you haven't seen before. As if, wait, that's not in 3D, how did they make it look like that? Obviously, it's not actually coming to life, but it's giving you that same feeling the first time you discovered anime. As if, holy shit, I've never seen something look like that. And it makes you feel like, I want to see more of that. And the way they described and just like interpreted a student council in this anime is one of the most memorable student councils I think I've ever seen. This is basically like a jungle gym. There's literally a security club to keep people in check. And you basically get this interrogation going on every time you try to propose like what your budget will be for. And you get this like hard ass like student council just failing everyone. And the teachers just kind of sit back, kind of being like nothing. I mean, Kanamori shakes them down, be like, you really gonna say it was our fault when it was a school issue? And then how like the student council like, that's not gonna work on me, it might work on those fools. Like this was something like from like Kill la Kill, I felt like, where just you had a student council going way too overboard, but I loved it all in the process. And to just see how when they really were starting to show what was happening, I was like, this is so beautiful. Like, there is so many ways for them to improve the vision that they have, obviously actually having a story, having real music, having voice acting, not having to cut corners for certain levels of the production. What they did in such a short amount of time over a few months there was incredibly impressive, especially seen by just how the team really was falling apart, but once again Kanamori just kind of smacking some sense into them. Really, if Kanamori was to take even a weekend off, by the time she would come back, she would see these two characters just like playing in a treehouse or something. Like they would not be able to focus because they would get too distracted on making 1,000 cuts for a single fight scene or something like that. Where it's like there's too many cuts, yet you're just doing it for a single thing because you want realistic movement. I love that. I love how they actually had to cut away the story. I like how they had to keep discovering new ways. Look at old anime, look at just live footage and things like that. How do you animate an explosion? What are ways that we can make it look like there's movement when really we're just spinning the camera, or we're zooming in a bunch of times and then maybe shifting the color or perspective slightly around? I like how they're using very real animation techniques to explain how these kids are basically going to be able to make their product on time. It definitely feels like a wink and a nudge from the animators to the viewers watching, being like, this is basically how we struggle every time we're trying to finish an anime episode for you guys. Because very few productions have a healthy production cycle. Even if it starts out fine, especially if you're getting a 2-core, it just usually falls apart at some point in time. Even if there isn't action scenes, it's very hard to get things done on time, and most anime episodes are finished the day they're going up to be released on TV and things like that. So to see how they were really going in, making it very easy to digest, understanding, oh, even if you have no knowledge on the animation medium and just how things are made, they definitely gave you a very easy to consume reason and just like explanation on how things are happening, so it both felt educational but completely entertainment all in the process. I am sure there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people watching this anime who have no interest in learning about animation, yet are finding this entertaining. And it's for the simple reason that the characters are bubbly, they're bouncy, they're intimidating, they're fun all around, and they're always moving in some unique way that you can't compare to the last time we saw them. But the way they're actually like opening up Photoshop or just other programs explaining how they use in-between frames and things like that never feels like they're dropping info, but rather it's these characters discovering ways so they can get to the next step, which is really fun to me. Like, this episode, it felt so stressful, but optimistic wrapped up into one beautiful package. Like, you're getting a little wink and a nudge about how animators have to sleep under their desks sometimes, which is a real thing. And you're just seeing like how far they're pushing it and how many arguments they're having. And honestly, if Kanamori wasn't in this show, this would all fall apart. Like, you obviously got to give major props to the talent animating, drawing the backgrounds, coming up with the ideas, but that management, you need it. Otherwise, it would all fall apart, and this would be nothing more than some random clubroom activity after school that would never get something actually finished and impress the audience. And I love how, honestly, Kanamori, favorite character of the season right now. I'll go as far to say that. I didn't think she'd be my favorite character walking into this anime. I just felt like I'd be one of the other two. No, she is the best. She is hilarious. She is blunt and to your face. But I love how caring she is all in the process. Like, literally, she wouldn't be doing this unless she cared about the product in question. Like, yeah, she wants to make money, but at the same time, she's bringing these talents together in such a way that, holy shit, just seeing some of the reactions, like, hey, you know, this is how many, you're gonna have to work 24 hours a day for basically a month. I can't do that. Well, do 48 hours in a day. There's just so many lines that are so absurd, but it's just like, you need that type of reaction because what they're saying is so ridiculous, it's so immature, that you need to throw it right back in their face so they understand that you have to do this. Oh, you don't want to do this because you want to do everything by hand. Alright, I guess we're just gonna have to cut this. Oh, you don't want that cut either. I guess we're just not gonna do anything. I love how it's both super, like, motherly, but also, like, hardened boss being like, get your shit together. And it was so interesting to see how they were basically... Actually, this episode, they did the best of actually showing the tools rather than just, like, kind of explaining what they were doing or what they plan on doing. You sometimes would get, like, a few drawings, and then we'd kind of get sucked into the anime. It was nice to see, like, the computer side of it and how they were really bringing it together in a more technological sense. And just seeing it all come together, and by the time you actually see what the student council is, I was both anticipating it and dreading it all in the process. I actually thought I was going to crash and burn. Not because I thought their product was going to suck, but rather seeing what the student council was like, I was like, there's no way they're going to approve some silly anime. But I liked how they actually were impressed by what they were able to do without a budget. Like, what could they do if they had a budget? What they actually had funding and had proper equipment, they didn't have to do everything themselves. It's really interesting to see how, even though like the audience was kind of getting mesmerized by what they were seeing, when you have almost like another business side of things, like handling the funds, they're seeing, they actually might have some of the most potential than anyone here. And I can probably assume a lot of people failed before we got our girls up there. So it's nice to see how it was both intimidating, it was so anime and hilarious, but it was also, it kind of felt like a reward. Like all their struggles, all their bickering, all their fights, and all their, you know, sleepless nights, it really did have a payoff in some way. And it'll be interesting to see what they can do now that they don't have to just do an advertisement. Like, they can actually take their time, maybe actually make a story out of some real music, some voice acting, things like that. It's going to be interesting for sure, but it is pretty cool though, you think about it, because when you're like in high school or like you're a kid, you have all these ideas for stories, right? You kind of think, and you just combine, like, take a cowboy here, take an alien here, what's this, space? Yeah, sure, why not? Space, a random castle, medieval setting, just mash it together and that's going to be what they're going to imagine they're playing in the school ground. There's like a lot of ways that you can take such like ridiculous ideas. They actually turn out to be pretty cool ideas in the long term. Like a lot of times anime or stories in general, they take something that's pretty easy to digest and then they kind of flesh out that idea in the long run. But sometimes the most ridiculous ideas can make for some of the most entertaining products. Like literally you have a girl with a machete jumping around with cables who can jump real high because her gravity at her home world was a lot higher than it was on this. You got a tank that every time it shoots, it falls on its back, and you're just getting a ridiculous, like, really, is this machete gonna cut through it? Who cares? She's super strong. That is an idea you don't see a hell of a lot, but it actually became something that's pretty cool, and I'm like, you know what? Make that an entire story, or do something even more ridiculous. Rather than it feeling like a bunch of students just trying to make something for profit. Even though we got that business mind there, I like how it is just, what is the most fun? What can I have the most fun animating? What can I have the most fun creating a story for and drawing backgrounds for? And the amount of detail they're putting into it, it turns such a silly and ridiculous idea that most production committees would laugh at into something that's like, I actually want to see more of that. But a lot of times they don't want to take those risks. So it's nice to see something from the eyes of young people who aren't like being intoxicated by basically the corruption of like politics and things like that, but just like literally enjoying making what they want when they want, and they have a business mind that keeps them on track so they can finish on time. It just creates something that feels so innocent, but also so professional, kind of wrapped up into one package. And I think it helps that this team is animating from a place of like, we have to make it look like we finished it on time, but we also struggled to get there. And I love how at the end of the episode, everyone's blown away, but these three are like, that didn't look right, the line wasn't right, oh, we didn't even fill in a shadow there. I love how they see it through this professional lens, but they could slap that down to most people and they're going to say, oh, that's great, I want to see more, but they actually care even further. And that's how most artists are, but unfortunately, schedule kind of bites you in the ass, and it isn't until the Blu-rays and DVDs that you can kind of correct the mistakes that were unfortunately there on release day. This show is insane. It is so good, and every time I just watch something silently happening, they got like this bubbly and very atmospheric OST playing to make it feel like it's a workplace setting, but it also has this like innocence and it's like hope and optimism. It's so good. And the characters, these three are so great, but Kanamori definitely star of the show for me still. Easily my favorite character of the season right now. I love this show. It brings a damn smile to my face, and I look forward to Sunday every single week because of this show. What did everyone think? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Did you love it? Do you hate? Your favorite moment? Where you think it's going to go next week? Let me know. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, and remember to hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.